is a message that Trump posted on Truth Social, and it's a text. So he published a private, ostensibly private text message from Rutte, where he says, "Mr. President, dear Donald, congratulations and thank you for your decisive action in Iran. That was truly extraordinary and something no one else dared to do. It makes us all safer. You are flying into another big success in The Hague this evening. It was not easy, but we've got them all signed into 5%. Donald, you have driven us to a really, really important moment for America and Europe and the world. You will achieve something no American president in decades could get done. Europe is going to pay in a big way, as they should, and it will be your win. Safe travels, and see you at His Majesty's dinner." Mark Rutte. Can you explain what he's referring to, making Europe pay in a big way, and what Trump has managed to achieve? So embarrassing.
The 5% is 5% of GDP. So all governments have 10 years to raise their spending on NATO,
right,
to 5% of gross domestic product.
And that's what Rutte is thankful to Trump for, right? Making Europe pay in a big way.
Yeah. On the one hand, he's very pleased about that because his core mission in political life is austerity. On the other hand, he knows how to write a letter that will be very pleasing to Trump, because he's one of these people who have this sociopathic talent to tell such people, they size them up and they tell them what they want to hear.
Right.
And so,
in fact, we have a clip of Rutte being asked how he felt about the fact that Trump posted a text from him on Truth Social. So let's take a listen.
Without his permission. Without
his permission. Right. Although who knows? Maybe this was all planned. You never know.
Yeah.
Okay. Let us now take a look at this.
I think it's Trump's motivation to publish a private conversation.
I don't know, but I have absolutely no problem with that because there's nothing in it which had to stay secret.
And what do you say about allegations that you're trying to please Donald Trump a little bit too much?
But look what is inside my text message to him. When it comes to the 2%, delivering 2%. Without him, it would never have happened this year, let's be honest. Beginning of this year, 7 countries were saying, well, maybe somewhere in 2031, 2032. All these 7, 8 countries are now at 2%. And when it comes to the 5%, we have to do this because of the capability targets. We have to keep ourselves safe from the Russians. But the good news is that it's also equalizing what we are spending here in Europe and Canada with what the US is spending.
It's a bit humiliating to have to explain this exchange with your allies, isn't it?
No, absolutely no problem. No, there's nothing in it which had to stay secret. No, thank you.
But shouldn't it be a NATO victory more than a Trump victory?
It's both.
But why did you not say both to the president?
Well, he knows, but I mean, without him, he would never have reached 2% this year. Never, forget it. And then when it comes to the 5% and the new spending target, of course we have to do it because of keeping ourselves safe here. But do you really think, if Donald not have been president, that tomorrow he would get to the 5%? Are you really thinking that? I'm not. Thank you.
Thank you.
I mean, what's so amazing about that is they keep giving him like chance after chance to prove that he's not just, blowing smoke up Trump's ass. There are other words with blowing that you could use, other phrases, but they give him every chance to say, oh, no, this is, of course, about NATO and this is an accomplishment of NATO and cooperation. But no, he keeps deferring to Trump. It's really pathetic.
I think there are multiple things going on here. There's the great game that Rutte plays in politics, and then there's the psychological part. Right. But let's talk about the great political game that this is about is austerity. Right. So Rutte is like the champion of austerity. And this was his job as Prime Minister of the Netherlands, not only in the austerity that he championed in the Netherlands, which was famous around the world, for his generous social programs, its generous social network. It was a rare thing to see a genuinely homeless person in the Netherlands. The Netherlands had some of the best healthcare, mental health care. There was enormous funding for culture, for arts. And Rutte is the one who took an axe to that and put an end to that era. Like one of his ministers of culture would also pose with an axe, just like Elon Musk posed with the chainsaw, Javier Milei with the chainsaw. So the people who want a lot of austerity, they like these metaphors of the axe, the chainsaw, something a bit martial. Because of course, when there's a war, that's of course the best excuse to cut everything other than arms industries and the security and defense sector, right? So that's really what this is about. And Rutte, not only did he put an end to that era of social democracy in the Netherlands, and he sent, the Netherlands into some kind of post-democracy where all there is austerity, but he did that for Europe, for the entire European Union. So there were a couple of figures who were major disruptors in the European Union. Mark Rutte, Angela Merkel, maybe in a different way, Orban, and the British, who are always, ramming policies down the throats of the Europeans, but not tying themselves to any of the, like they didn't want to be in the currency union because it wouldn't work for them. So these figures were always disrupting this supposedly communal project of the European Union. And I guess because that generation of political leaders, they are technocrats and they are managers. They don't have, either they went along with it if it benefited them because of corruption, or there was just no real opposition. For a while, there was the opposition from Podemos in Spain, but they weren't strategically tough and ruthless enough to face such an enemy. And then there was Varoufakis, who's a good orator, but not, in my opinion, not a good political strategist. But so these people tore up Europe as a communal project and made it all about austerity. And everything is an excuse for more austerity measures. Everything, including COVID.
We're Giannis positive on this show, but you can express your criticism. Yeah, keep going.
No,
Sorry.
I like him I like his way of expressing himself.
Yeah,
it's a constructive criticism, right? But in any case, there was nothing that Rutte was not able to transform into an excuse for more austerity, and he would always do this by any means necessary. It's a bottomless pit. And so with COVID-19, for example, which we all want to forget, the countries that had the most deaths the soonest and therefore imposed the harshest lockdowns, that had the harshest economic crises, Spain, Italy, Portugal, when the European Union had proposed COVID relief for them of around more than 700 billion euros, Rutte took the discussions hostage because he wanted to turn this into austerity. So he wanted to say, first of all, this money cannot be a grant, it must be a loan. And whether it is a loan or a grant, the conditions for these countries to accept this money after COVID is that they have to sign their agreement to more neoliberal reforms, more privatization. And he kept using the language that was used by the Germans in 2014, 2015, language even they came to regret when they were describing the Greeks in these rather racist terms as lazy, as swinish, as being, scapegoats for all of this because they were so corrupt and lazy, and that's why we have to cut the pensions of old Greek people. And so he was using this language, but as if these countries were somehow responsible for COVID, right? And I mean, this was the language of the blame game after the European financial crisis. So his motto is austerity by any means. And NATO is for him the greatest possibility for the greatest push in history for austerity, because how do you get the 5%? It implies slashing pensions.
Right.
It implies lowering the minimum wage. It means that a government like that of Sanchez in Spain, who has, rather lukewarm progressive social policies, that he cannot govern because his entire political program is cancelled, because you can't have that program and pay the 5%, right? Rebuilding education, everything goes down the drain to meet the 5%. And that's the goal of Rutte, is this end of politics where everything is administrative, everything is technical. It doesn't matter whether you voted for fascists or for communists, whether you voted for Syriza or whether you voted for
golden whatever.
whatever,
What's the golden dawn?
or
Yeah.
whether you vote for the far right or the far
Right.
left of any country in Europe, the populists especially, the populist right, the populist left in Italy, wherever, all that matters is this administrative decision that is completely undemocratic, and you get bludgeoned into it. And so now Rutte does it by exaggerating the existential threat posed by Russia. He was once the greatest friend of Putin. There are many pictures of him. I couldn't find them, but I've seen them of him welcoming Putin and Berlusconi with open arms. Now Putin is the devil because, of course, the existential threat has to be exaggerated, and diplomacy has to be seen as to be, declared dead, to be buried alive, because, of course, this push for rearmament, which is especially of concern in the case of Germany, right? And the German Bundeswehr is already they're already very reactionary. They're very well armed. Because Merkel and Ursula von der Leyen as Minister of Defense, they already, before any of this, before Ursula von der Leyen became president of the EU, they were pushing very aggressively for the German arsenal to be rebuilt for a kind of rearmament, not the Nazi rearmament, but a rearmament. And so we should be concerned of this, right?